Story time.
I don't expect you to believe me. That's kind of the point of posting this here. Places like this, threads like this, they exist for stories that sit just close enough to reality that people can shrug them off, laugh at them, scroll past, and sleep easy. I'm kind of counting on that. Because if what I'm about to write ever gets taken seriously, really seriously, I don't think Disney would let it stay up for too long. And before you ask, no, I'm not using my real name. But Harold Tillman is close enough. I'm 38 years old. I've been working night security for Disney for a little over 7 years. And before you say it, no, it's not like the movies. There's no whimsical magic after hours. No harmless animatronics wandering around like some glitchy theme park fairy tale. It's quieter than that. Too quiet. 7 years ago, I was broke, divorced, and sleeping on a friend's couch in Orlando. I had done a little bit of everything. Warehouse work, retail, even a short stint as a corrections officer. But nothing stuck. I wasn't the kind of guy people kept around. I was too quiet, they said. I was too observant. Night security guard, theme park property, competitive pay, long-term position. No company name was listed, just a number. I almost didn't call, but I did. And that was my first mistake. The interview wasn't at the park. It was in a plain office building about 20 minutes away. No logos, no branding. Just beige walls and a man in a gray suit who didn't blink enough. He didn't ask about my resume, didn't ask about experience. The only question he asked me, are you capable of following instructions exactly as they are given? And I said yes. Of course I did. He slid a paper across the table. Not a contract, not yet. Just a single sentence. You will see things that do not align with your expectations of reality. And I remember laughing. Like, actually laughing out loud. Thought it was some kind of psychological screening. Like they were testing for imagination or something. But the man didn't laugh back. I signed the contract 10 minutes later. Didn't even read all of it. Another mistake. My first night, I met him on my first shift. The man who trained me. His name was Graham, late 60s, maybe older. Thin, pale, skin like paper stretched too tight across his face. He had the kind of voice that sounded like it had been dragged across gravel. You're the new one. Not a question. We met just outside the employee access gate. It was already dark. The park had closed hours ago, but there was still this lingering energy, like the place hadn't realized it was supposed to sleep. You ever work night security before? He asked. Yeah, I said. A few places. He nodded slowly, then said something I didn't understand at the time. This isn't like those places. We walked together. The moment those gates shut behind us, I felt it. You ever walk into a room and immediately you know something's wrong? You don't see it, you don't hear it, but you just know. Well, that's what I felt. Like stepping into a place that wasn't meant for you anymore. The lights were still on, but they felt dimmer, muted. Like something was swallowing the brightness. You feel that? Graham asked. I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. Good, he said. Means you're not stupid. Training lasted 2 weeks, but honestly, everything that mattered happened in the first 3 nights. We walked the same routes every shift. Main Street, adventure areas, service corridors. Places guests never see. Places I wish I hadn't. The first night was quiet, and as cliche as this sounds, it was too quiet. No incidents, no explanations, just walking, watching, listening. The second night, that's when Graham started talking. We were passing by one of the attractions. I won't say which. And I noticed something. One of the animatronics. It was facing the wrong direction. Was that like that earlier? I asked. Graham didn't even look at it. Don't worry about it. That should have been my cue to shut up. But of course, I didn't. I'm serious, I said. That thing's turned around. Graham stopped walking, slowly turned toward me, and for the first time, he looked afraid. Did you see it move? I hesitated. No. He nodded, then grabbed my shoulder, harder than he needed to. Then it didn't. We kept walking, and I didn't look back. The third night, that's when he gave me the rules. We were sitting in the security office, banks of monitors, every inch of the park covered, or at least that's what I thought. Graham handed me a folded piece of paper, yellowed, worn at the edges, like it had been passed down for a long time. Memorize these, he said. Don't write them down anywhere else. Don't talk about them with anyone who doesn't already know. I opened the paper. There were 4 rules. Only 4. And every single one of them felt wrong. Rule number 1. If you see a character walking the park after 2 a.m., do not approach them. Do not acknowledge them. Do not let them see that you have seen them. I looked up at Graham. You mean like employees in costume? He didn't answer. Rule number 2. If any ride begins operating after shutdown, you are not to investigate. You are to leave the area immediately. If you hear screaming, you are to ignore it. That's not funny, I said. It's not supposed to be. Rule number 3. At 3:33 a.m., all cameras in Sector D will go offline for exactly 1 minute. During this time, you are to remain inside the security office. Do not look at the monitors. Do not look at the doors. Do not respond to any voices. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. What happens if I do? I asked. Graham stared at me for a long time. And then he said, You won't have to worry about the job anymore. Rule number 4. If you see someone on the cameras who looks exactly like you, leave the building immediately. Do not finish your shift. Do not report it. Do not come back. That one, that's the one that stuck with me. Because when I looked up, Graham wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at one of the monitors. And just for a second, I swear to God, I thought I saw something standing behind me. I folded the paper up slowly, hands shaking. This is a joke, right? I said. Some kind of hazing thing. Graham leaned back in his chair. The old wood creaked under his weight. You think I'd still be here if it was a joke? I didn't answer. He leaned forward and locked eyes onto me. The rules are the only reason you'll survive out there. Break one, he paused just long enough for it to matter, and the park will notice you. I laughed, nervous. I couldn't help it. The park, I said. What does that even mean? Graham smiled, just a little, and it was the worst thing I'd seen all night. You'll find out. I didn't mean to break the rule. That's the part that bothers me the most. People always think you have to be reckless or stupid or even arrogant to make a mistake like that. But the truth, all it takes is one moment where your brain tries to make sense of something that doesn't make sense and you react like a normal person. It was my 5th night on the job, still training, still walking with Graham, still trying to convince myself that the rules were just exaggerated safety protocols. We were near the end of our route, cutting through one of the quieter sections of the park. No music, no background noise, just the hum of electrical systems and the distant creak of something shifting in the dark. "Remember what I told you," Graham said as we walked. "Don't assume anything here is what it looks like." "I remember," I said. I didn't. Not really. We passed a row of closed storefronts, glass windows reflecting us back in warped, dim shapes. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought it was just another reflection, something off in the glass. But then it moved. Not behind us, and not in front of us, but to the side. Standing in the middle of the walkway was a character. Full costume, tall, oversized head, white gloves, perfectly still, facing us. I stopped walking. Graham didn't. He took 3 more steps before he realized I wasn't beside him anymore. "Harold!" His voice was low and deep. "Careful." But it was too late. Because my brain had already filled in the blanks. "Hey!" I called out. God, I can still hear my own voice echoing like that. Too loud, too normal. The character didn't move. I took a step forward. "Park's closed," I said. "You're not supposed to be out here." Behind me, I heard Graham whisper, "Stop!" But I didn't. Because something about it felt wrong in a different way. Not dangerous, just off. Because something about it felt wrong in a different way. Not dangerous, just off. Like a mannequin someone had left standing in the wrong place. I took another step. "Do you need help getting backstage?" I asked. And that's when it happened. The head turned. Not the body. Just the head. Slow. Smooth. Too smooth. Until it was facing me completely. And even in the dim light, I could tell something wasn't right. The eyes. They weren't fixed like a costume should be. They moved. Not like a person looking at you. More like something trying to figure out what you are. "Harold!" Graham's voice came again, closer now. Tense. "Do not engage." But the thing, it tilted its head, like it was curious, and then it took a step towards me. The sound it made, I don't really have a good way to describe it. Not footsteps, not fabric shifting. It sounded like something wet moving inside something dry. That's when my stomach dropped, because suddenly I remembered the rule. If you see a character walking the park after 2 a.m., and I had done the one thing it told me not to do, I had acknowledged it. "Don't run," Graham said quietly. He was right beside me now. "Don't react." The thing took another step, closer and closer. Its head tilted further. Too far. Like there was nothing inside stopping it from turning. "Act like you don't see it," Graham whispered. "Slowly turn around and walk away." I tried. Oh, God, I tried. But my body wouldn't listen, because the thing raised its hand and waved. Not a normal wave. Its arm jerked upward too fast, then bent at an angle that didn't look possible, before its hand started moving side to side, like it was mimicking something it had seen before. "Harold," Graham said sharper now. Move. That broke me out of my fix. I turned, started walking, slow at first, then faster. And I could hear it behind us. That same awful sound, closer now. Don't run, Graham repeated. Running makes it worse. Worse? I hissed. What the hell is that thing? It's not supposed to see you, he said. I made the mistake of glancing back just for a second. It was closer than it should have been. Much closer. And the way it was moving, it wasn't walking anymore. Its legs were wrong, bending too much, too often, like it hadn't figured out how joints were supposed to work. Keep going, Graham said. Don't stop until we're inside. We reached a service door. Graham yanked it open and pulled me inside, then slammed it shut behind us. Silence. Just like that, the noise stopped. I leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath. What was that? I asked. Graham didn't answer right away. He just stood there, listening, waiting. After a full minute, he finally spoke. You broke the first rule. I didn't know. You did, he snapped. You just didn't take it seriously. I didn't have anything else to say to that, because he was right. He sighed and ran a hand over his face. It saw you, he said, and my stomach dropped again. What does that mean? Graham looked at me, and for the first time, he looked genuinely tired. It means it'll remember you. Back in the security room, we decided not to finish the route. Didn't talk much on the way back. When we got to the security office, Graham locked the door behind us, checked it twice. Then he went straight to the monitors. Come here, he said. I hesitated, then walked over. He pointed at one of the screens. Tell me what you see. I looked. It was the same area we had just been in. Empty now. I don't see anything, I said. Look closer. So I did, and that's when I noticed it. At the edge of the frame, half hidden in shadow, standing perfectly still, was the character, watching the camera, watching us. I felt my throat go dry. It knows, I said quietly. Graham didn't respond. He just reached over and turned off the monitor. We don't watch them longer than we have to. We sat in silence for a while after that. Then I asked the question I'd been holding in. How many people break the rules? Graham let out a slow breath. Most don't last long enough to break more than one. Well, that was comforting. And you? I asked. You ever break one? He didn't answer immediately. Then, very quietly, not twice. That stuck with me, because it didn't sound like a rule. It sounded like a warning. I thought that was it, that the worst of the night was over, but I was wrong. Because when the clock crept closer to 3:33 a.m., Graham stood up suddenly. Sit down, he said. What? Now. Something in his tone made me listen. I sat. He turned off every monitor, one by one. The room went dark. Don't look at anything, he said. Not the screens, not the door. My heart started pounding. Why? He looked at the clock. 3:32 a.m. And then he whispered, Rule 3. I used to think fear was loud. Screaming, running, panic. That kind of thing. I was wrong. Real fear is quiet. It sits in your chest and makes everything feel tight, like the world is holding its breath, and you're not supposed to be the one who exhales first. That's what it felt like sitting in that security office. All the monitors off, all the lights dimmed. Just me and Graham, waiting. The clock read 3:32 a.m. "You have exactly 1 minute," Graham said. His voice was steady but low, like he didn't want it to carry. "1 minute for what?" I whispered. He didn't look at me. "To not make a mistake." Well, that didn't help. The second hand on the clock ticked forward, louder than it should have. 3:33 a.m. And just like that, something changed. It wasn't a sound, not at first. It was pressure, like the air in the room had gotten heavier, thicker. My ears popped, and then the building creaked. Not like normal settling. This was deeper, slower, like something massive had shifted its weight somewhere far below us. "What is that?" I whispered. Graham didn't answer. I glanced at him. He was staring straight ahead, eyes wide, unblinking. That's when I noticed he hadn't blinked once since the clock hit 3:33. "Graham," I said quietly, "you okay?" His voice came out strained. "Don't talk." So I didn't. Could you believe that? And for a few seconds, there was nothing. Then, a sound from the hallway. A soft knock. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. Another knock, a little louder. Another round of loud taps. My eyes shifted toward the door. "Don't," Graham said immediately. I snapped my gaze back forward. My heart was racing now. "Is that someone?" I whispered. No response. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then a voice. "Hello?" It was faint, muffled through the door, but clear enough. A man's voice. "Security. I think I'm locked in." My stomach twisted. "That's not," I started. "Don't," Graham said. The voice came back, closer now. "Hey, I know you're in there." Another knock, harder this time. Bang, bang, bang. I flinched. "They're not supposed to be here," I whispered. "They're not," Graham said. The handle rattled, slowly at first, then violently. "Open the door," the voice shouted. "Please, I don't want to be out here." There was something wrong with it. Not the words, the tone. It didn't sound scared. It sounded like it was trying to sound scared, like an impression. "Harold," Graham said quietly, "whatever you hear." The voice changed mid-sentence. "Don't open the door." It cut off, then came back, but this time it sounded like me. "Graham, open the door." Every muscle in my body locked up. "What the hell?" I breathed. Graham didn't react, didn't even look at me. The voice outside continued. "Graham, it's me. Something's wrong out here." It was perfect. My voice, my tone, even the slight rasp I get when I'm nervous. "Open the door," it said again. And then it laughed. Just a little. Not loud, not exaggerated, just enough to be wrong. My throat went dry. "That's not me," I whispered. "I know," Graham said. The handle stopped rattling. Silence again. Then, something scraped against the door. Slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragging downward. I squeezed my eyes shut. "Don't do that," Graham said immediately. I opened them again. "Don't close your eyes," he added. "Not during this. Why? I asked. He didn't answer, and somehow that was worse. The scraping stopped. Then, footsteps moving away from the door. Slow at first, then faster, then gone. The pressure in the room lifted, and just like that, the air felt normal again. The building stopped creaking, and the clock ticked over to 3:34 a.m. Graham blinked once, then again, like his body was catching up. "It's over," he said. I didn't move. I didn't speak, because I wasn't sure it actually was. After a moment, Graham stood up, walked over to the monitors, and he turned them back on, one by one. The screens flickered to life. Everything looked normal. Empty park, dark walkways, still rides. Until one camera came on. The hallway outside the security office. I leaned forward. The door. It was scratched, deep grooves running down the surface, like something had tried to claw its way in. "Graham," I said slowly. He didn't respond, because he was staring at something else. "Graham," I said again. He pointed at the screen. "Look." I followed his finger. At the far end of the hallway, standing just at the edge of the camera's view, was a figure. Perfectly still, watching the door. Watching us. And even though it was mostly in shadow, I could tell it was wearing the same character costume from earlier. The one that had seen me. The one that I acknowledged. "It followed us," I whispered. Graham shook his head slowly. "No." A long pause. Then, "It waited." We didn't share too much of a conversation after that. Training continued, but something had changed. Graham watched me more closely, and I started noticing things I hadn't before. Small things, subtle. Like how some cameras would glitch, but only when something moved through them. Or how certain areas of the park felt colder. Or how, sometimes, when I passed by reflective surfaces, I looked slightly delayed, like my reflection wasn't keeping up. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, my imagination. But deep down, I knew better, because I had broken a rule, and something in the park had noticed me. And now, it wasn't letting go. I didn't notice at first. That's how it starts, I think. Not with something obvious. Not with something you can point at and say, "That's wrong." No. It starts small. A flicker, a delay, a feeling that something is just slightly out of sync. And then one day, it isn't small anymore. It was my 9th night, still technically in training, but Graham had started letting me take point on certain routes, watching me, testing me. "You only really learn this job one way," he told me. "How's that?" I asked. He didn't even look at me. "By surviving your mistakes." That should have been enough to make me quit, but of course I didn't. Because by then, I needed to understand what was happening, and that curiosity, that was my 3rd mistake. We were back in the security office, monitors running, everything quiet. I was scanning through the camera feeds one by one. Main Street, empty. Food court, empty. Service hallway. I paused. Something about it felt off. "Graham," I said, "come look at this." He didn't move right away. "What is it?" I don't know," I said. "Just something." He sighed, stood up and walked over. "Which camera?" "Hallway, C12. He leaned in, squinted at the screen. At first, nothing. Just a long, dim corridor. Then movement. At the far end, a figure stepped into view, and my stomach dropped, because I recognized the uniform immediately. Dark shirt, security badge, same cut, same fit. Is that? I started. Graham's hand shot out, gripped my shoulder tight. Don't say it. But I already knew, because the figure turned slightly, and I saw its face. My face. Not similar, not close. Exact. Same hair, same stubble, same tired look in the eyes. Even the way it stood, that slight lean I didn't realize I had. It was all there. What the hell? I whispered. The thing on the screen tilted its head, just like the character had. And then, it smiled. I don't smile like that. I don't smile that wide, or that slow. It was like it was stretching something it wasn't used to using. Turn it off, Graham said. What? Why? Turn it off. I hesitated, and that was enough, because the thing, it stepped closer to the camera, too fast. 1 second it was at the end of the hall, the next it was right in front of the lens, filling the screen, looking directly at me, and then it raised its hands and waved, exactly the same way I had seen the character do. Jerky, wrong, like it was copying something it had learned. I slammed the monitor off. The screen went black. Silence. Rule 4, Graham said quietly. My hands were shaking. If you see someone who looks exactly like you, finish it, he said. Hesitantly, I finished the sentence. Leave the building immediately. Good, he said. I stood there, frozen. Well, he asked. Well, what? Aren't you going to follow it? I looked at him. You want me to leave? His expression didn't change. I want you to stay alive. That hit harder than I expected. Here's the thing nobody tells you about the rules like that. They sound simple until you actually have to follow them. Because leaving means more than just walking out. It means quitting, losing the job, going back to nothing. It means admitting that whatever you just saw is real. And I wasn't ready to do that. What if it's just a glitch? I said. Graham didn't respond right away. Then, very slowly, he looked at me. Do you believe that? I didn't answer, because the truth is, no, I didn't believe that. But I wanted to, badly. I'm not leaving, I said finally. Graham closed his eyes just for a second. When he opened them again, there was something like disappointment there. You need to understand something, he said. I swallowed. What? He leaned closer, voice low. It saw you too. My chest tightened. What does that mean? I asked. It means it's going to try and replace you. I didn't sleep at all that day. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. That smile, that thing wearing my face. And then I came back the next night. Graham was already there, sitting in the dark, monitors off. You came back, he said. Yeah. He nodded slowly. Most do, he muttered. That didn't sit right. What do you mean most? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he stood up, turned one of the monitors on. Look, he said. I hesitated, but then I stepped closer. The screen showed another hallway. Different sector. Empty. Wait, I said. What am I? The camera flickered just once, and then a figure appeared, standing in the middle of the hall, not moving, wearing a security uniform. But this one, it wasn't me. Its face was wrong, too stretched, too loose, like it didn't quite fit anymore. Who is that? I asked. Graham stared at the screen. Used to be a guard, he said. My stomach dropped. What happened to him? Graham didn't look away. He didn't leave. The thing on the screen twitched just slightly. Then its head snapped toward the camera. Too fast. Too sharp. And even from that distance, I could see its mouth moving, like it was trying to speak. No sound came through, but I knew. I knew it was saying something. Turn it off, Graham said. I didn't argue this time. I shut the monitor down. My hands were shaking again. That's what happens? I asked. Graham didn't answer directly. Instead, he said something worse. That's what we can still see. I tried to be careful after that. I really did. Follow the rules. Don't look too long. Don't question too much. But it didn't matter anymore, because whatever I had triggered, it wasn't waiting for 2 a.m. or 3:33. It started showing up earlier. First, it was reflections, mirrors, glass, dark screens. I'd catch a glimpse of myself, but just slightly off, a second too late, or smiling when I wasn't. Then, it got worse, because one night, while walking alone, I heard footsteps behind me, matching mine, perfectly, step for step. I stopped, they stopped. I started again, they followed. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I already knew. If I did, I'd be looking at myself. And I wasn't sure which one of us would be real anymore. I should have left. That's the truth of it. There were at least 3 clear moments where I could have walked out, never come back, and maybe, whatever this is, wouldn't have followed me. But I didn't. Because by that point, it didn't feel like a job anymore. It felt like I was already involved in something I didn't understand. And leaving wouldn't mean escape. It would just mean I'd be alone with it. It was my 12th night when Graham didn't show up. That had never happened before, not once. He was always early, always sitting in that same chair, watching the monitors, like they might blink back. But that night, empty. I checked the office, the halls, even the routes we normally walked. Nothing, just me and the park. I should have reported it, called someone. But something told me not to. Because if Graham wasn't there, it wasn't an accident. The park feels different when you're alone. It's not just quieter. It feels aware, like every corner is watching you instead of the other way around. I stayed in the security office longer than usual. Didn't want to start the route. Didn't want to give the place more opportunities to show me something. But eventually, I had to move. That's part of the job. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. I made it maybe 20 minutes into the shift before I went back. Something felt wrong. Not in a specific way, just heavier than usual. Like the air had that same pressure from 3:33, but it wasn't even close to that time yet. When I got back to the security office, one of the monitors was already on. I was sure I'd turned them off before leaving. Every single one. But now, screen 7 was glowing. Hallway C12. The same hallway where I'd seen it before. My chest tightened. Not again, I muttered. I stepped closer, slowly. The hallway was empty. For a second, I almost laughed. Thought maybe I was just losing it. But then, the camera flickered, and something stepped into frame. It was me. Again, but closer this time, too close. Standing right in front of the camera, staring straight through it. Straight at me. Okay, I whispered. Okay, this isn't real. The thing tilted its head, that same unnatural motion, and then it raised its hand, but this time, it didn't wave. It pressed its palm against the camera, flat, like it could feel me through it. My breath caught, and then the screen bulged. I'm not exaggerating. The glass literally bent outward, like something was pushing from the other side. No, I said, stepping back. No, no, no. The image warped. My face, it stretched, smiled, and then the hand came through. Not the whole arm, not at first, just the hand, pushing through the screen like it was liquid, dripping, wrong. I stumbled backward. What the hell? I choked out. The arm followed, pulling itself out of the monitor, like it was climbing through. Then the sound, oh God, the sound, like wet fabric tearing. I turned and ran. I didn't think, didn't plan, just ran. Out of the office, down the hallway. I didn't even know where I was going. Just away from that thing. Graham! I shouted. No response. Of course there wasn't. Because he wasn't there. And for the first time since I started, I realized something worse than the rules, worse than the things in the park. I was on my own. I didn't stop running until I hit one of the main hallways. I bent over, gasping for breath. Think, I muttered. Think, Harold. And that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. Perfectly matched. Step for step. I froze. Slowly, I turned around. And there it was. Me. Standing about 20 feet away. Perfect. Too perfect. Same posture. Same breathing. Even the same look of panic, except for the eyes. The eyes were wrong. Empty. Like something was wearing me instead of being me. Okay, I said slowly. This isn't happening. It smiled. Okay, it repeated. My voice perfectly. I took a step back. It took a step forward, mirroring me. No, I said. No, it echoed. That's when I realized it wasn't just copying my movement. It was copying me, learning in real time. You're not real, I said. It tilted its head. Not real, it repeated. And then it stopped mirroring. Its smile widened, too wide. Then why are you scared? My blood ran cold, because that wasn't something I said. That wasn't something it copied. That was something it chose. Harold! The voice came from behind me. I turned. Graham, standing in the distance. Relief hit me so hard it almost dropped me. Graham! I shouted. What the hell is happening? He didn't move. Come here, he said. Something about his voice. It was off, just slightly. I hesitated. Behind me, I heard the other one step closer. Harold, Graham said again. Now! I took a step toward him, and that's when I noticed he wasn't blinking. Not once. And suddenly, part 3 slammed back into my head. Don't respond to any voices. My stomach dropped. You're not Graham, I said. He smiled, the same way the other one did. And behind me, I heard it laugh. Soft. close. "You're learning," both voices said at the same time. I ran again, and I didn't stop. I didn't look back. And I didn't go to the office. I didn't go to any enclosed space. I just kept moving. Because one thing had become very clear. The rules weren't about avoiding something. They were about not being noticed. And I had been noticed more than once. By more than one thing. And now, they weren't just watching anymore. They were coming closer, learning faster. And worst of all, they were starting to sound like people I trusted. I didn't go back to the security office, not right away. That place wasn't safe anymore. The monitors weren't just showing things, they were letting them through. And after what I saw crawl out of that screen, I wasn't about to trap myself in a room full of doors that didn't stay closed. So I stayed outside, walking, keeping distance between me and anything that could corner me. I don't know how long I wandered. Time felt wrong. Like it wasn't moving in a straight line anymore. Sometimes I'd check my watch and minutes had passed. Other times, it felt like hours had gone by, but the clock hadn't moved at all. And that's when I realized something else. The rules. They weren't for time. They were for events. And I had already triggered too many of them. There are parts of the park guests never know exist. Not just maintenance tunnels or staff-only areas. I'm talking about places that don't show up on any map. Places you don't find unless something leads you there. Or you wander too far off the path. I found one of those places that night. Or maybe it found me. I was cutting through a service corridor I didn't recognize, which was already a problem. Because after 7 years, even training, you get a feel for the layout. But this wasn't right. The walls were older, the paint peeling, the lights flickering in a slow, uneven rhythm, and the air was cold. Not normal cold, but like a dead cold. Nothing had moved through there in a long time. I should have turned back, but I didn't, because at the end of the hallway, there was a door, and it was open. Inside was another security room, but not like the one I knew. This one was outdated. Old monitors, old equipment, dust covering everything. Like it hadn't been used in years, but the power was still on. One screen flickered, just one. I stepped inside, slowly. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. Of course not. I moved close to the monitor, and that's when I saw him. Graham. Sitting in a chair, in that same room, but different. Younger. Not by a lot, but enough. His face wasn't as worn, his eyes not as tired. "What the?" I whispered. On the screen, Graham looked up, like he heard me. My breath caught. "That's not possible," I said. He stood up, walked toward the camera, and then he spoke. "Harold," he said. My heart stopped. "Don't make the same mistake I did." The screen glitched. Static burst across it, then cleared. And Graham was gone. In his place was something else. Sitting in the chair, wearing his face, but stretched, wrong, too still. And then it leaned forward and whispered something I couldn't hear. But I didn't need to, because I already knew. It was talking about me. Next to the monitor, there was something sitting on the desk, a tape recorder. It was old, the kind with physical buttons, and a single cassette inside. Inside the cassette was labeled in faded ink, If you're seeing this, you stayed too long. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. I hesitated, because part of me already knew whatever was on that tape, it wasn't going to help me. It was just going to confirm something I didn't want to accept. But I pressed play anyway. The tape crackled. Then Graham's voice, older, tired. "If this is you, Harold, then I didn't make it out." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" I muttered. The tape continued. "I thought the rules were enough. They're not." A pause. Static. "There's another one." My grip tightened. "A rule they don't write down, because if you don't know it, it means it's already too late." My heart was pounding. "Graham," I whispered. The tape hissed, then. "If it learns your voice, your face, your habits." A long pause. And then, "It doesn't need you anymore." My blood ran cold. "No," I said under my breath. "That's not... No." The tape clicked, then resumed, quieter now. "It replaces you." I staggered back. No. "And when it does..." Another pause. "You don't disappear." I froze. "You stay." Silence. Then, "You become part of the park." The tape stopped. I stood there, not moving, not breathing, because suddenly everything made sense. The characters, the voices, the guards who didn't leave, the things wearing faces that didn't quite fit anymore. They weren't intruders, they weren't visitors. They were what was left. And the rules? They weren't there to keep things out. They were there to keep you from becoming one of them. That's when I heard it, behind me. A voice. My voice. "You figured it out." I turned slowly, and there it was, standing in the doorway. Me. Perfect. Complete. Smiling. But this time, there was no delay. No glitch, no wrong movement. It was seamless, like it had finally gotten everything right. "You've been helping me," it said. My throat went dry. "Helping you do what?" It stepped closer. "To finish." I backed away. "No," I said. "No, you don't get to." It laughed, and this time it sounded more like me than I did. "You stayed," it said simply, and that was the worst part. Because it was right. I had every chance to leave. But I didn't. And I never will. I wish I could tell you I ran, that I fought, that I did something, anything to stop what was happening. But the truth, I just stood there. Because when you're faced with something that looks exactly like you, moves like you, speaks like you, there's a moment where your brain just breaks. You don't know what to do, because you don't know what's real anymore. And that hesitation, that's all it needed. It stepped closer, not rushed, not aggressive, but confident, like it already knew how this would end. "You don't have to be scared," it said. That almost made me laugh. "Yeah?" I said hoarsely. "Why's that?" It tilted its head, that same familiar gesture, but now it looked natural, practice. "Because this part doesn't hurt," it said. I shook my head. "No," I said. "No, I'm not letting you." It moved. Fast. Faster than anything I'd seen so far. 1 second it was across the room, the next it was right in front of me, and its hand, my hand, closed around my wrist, cold. Not just cold, but empty. like there was nothing inside it. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't. You already did, it said quietly. My heart slammed against my ribs. What? I choked out. You stayed, it repeated. And then everything went dark. I woke up in the security office, sitting in the chair. The same chair Graham used to sit in. The monitors were on. Everything looked normal. Too normal. For a second, I thought it was a dream. That none of it had happened. That I had imagined everything. But then I looked down at my hands. They were mine, but they didn't feel like mine. There was a delay. Not visible, not obvious, but I could feel it. Like I was controlling something instead of being it. I stood up. The movement was smooth. Too smooth. Like my body knew what to do before I did. No, I whispered. And then I saw the monitors. Every screen, every camera, all of them were showing me walking the park. Different places, different angles, all at once. My breath hitched. That's not possible. But it was. Because I wasn't watching the cameras anymore. I was in them. There was a sound behind me, a chair creaking. I turned slowly, and there he was, Graham, sitting in the corner, or what was left of him. His body looked wrong, not broken and not injured, but just incomplete, like something had been taken out of him. And whatever was left didn't know what to do anymore. You stayed, he said weakly. My chest tightened. Graham, he shook his head. No, he whispered. Not you. A pause. Then, the other one. I froze. What? His eyes drifted past me, toward the monitors. It's wearing you now, he said. My blood ran cold. No, I said. No, I'm right here. You're what's left, he interrupted. That hit harder than anything else. What does that mean? I asked. He looked at me, but really looked at me. And I saw it then, recognition. Not of me, but of something he had seen before. You're the part it didn't need. I didn't understand at first, didn't want to. But as the minutes passed, I started to feel it. Something deeper than fear, something connected, like threads running through the park, through the walls, through the ground, through the air itself. And I was part of it now. Not physically, but present, everywhere, watching, listening, waiting. And the thing wearing me? It was out there, walking the same paths I used to, talking like me, breathing like me, living like me. And no one, no one, would know the difference. Why am I posting this? I don't know how much time I have left. Not like this. Not as whatever I am now. Graham says eventually I'll stop thinking for myself, that I'll become quieter, less aware, like the others. The ones in the park, the ones in the suits, the ones on the cameras. So I'm writing this now while I still can, while I still remember who I was. Because if you're reading this, and you ever see something that doesn't make sense, something that feels just slightly wrong, something that looks at you like it's trying to understand you, leave. Don't question it. Don't approach it. Don't acknowledge it. Just go. Because the moment it learns you, you're already a part of it. I wasn't supposed to look at the monitors again. Graham told me not to. Said it would make things worse. But I did anyway. Because I needed to know. I needed to see what was out there wearing my face. And when I turned the screen on, I saw it. walking through the park, talking to someone, another guard, new, confused, asking questions, just like I did. And as I watched, it smiled, the same slow, perfect smile, and said something I couldn't hear, but I didn't need to, because I already knew. It was teaching him the rules.